This is the John Brown Alliance, where we don't fear, we fight, and we sure as hell don't clock out. As much as I would like to sit here and talk day after day about how we got here and whose fault it is, right now there's really no time for that. It's a convenient way to build an audience and get people to continue to listen to you, but it's not going to move us forward. Before I go any further, I would like you to like and subscribe to this video, because in the coming weeks, YouTube and certain parts of the internet might actually become the last bastion of free speech in the United States of America. So back on the topic. This is no longer about Democrats or Republicans. This is about what you have to do for yourself, your community, and your country. Full stop. We can play the blame game all day. We can drum on certain issues, and that can be our mantra. And then we get stuck in the same repetitive rhetoric that MAGA did, that put us in this mess. We can get stuck in the same news cycles and Democratic elected officials who were too soft, didn't act fast enough, or became too comfortable with their elected positions. Let me make something clear. When you are elected by the people, you become what is called a public servant. That goes for both parties and everything in between. People entrust you with their vote. Full stop. And that goes everywhere from Nancy Pelosi to AOC. But the difference between these people and these age groups is that some of them of a certain age and both parties subscribe to the status quo. This is no longer, as an American, your problem. What is your problem is that people that you know, go to school with, go to jobs with, shop with, and live beside are being kidnapped off the streets of America. Your problem is the fact that before the midterms, they are contemplating passing a bill in Congress to increase your insurance for your health care by 70%. Because that is what you are going to allow them to get away with. What is your problem is feeding your family. What is your problem is affording gas. What is your problem is if you're black, 4 or 5 generations ago, that kid that went to college because we tried to even the scales through college admissions, now cannot afford a home after you worked your whole life to pay those college bills. That game is fixed. It's rigged. Not white people who are the so-called disenfranchised. I grew up speaking English, and very clearly. And in that upbringing, I was encouraged to read the dictionary and the words. There is no translation needed. When people get on television, and they spew hate, and they say people are vermin, and people are eating dogs, and people are gang members who are not, and they repeat it over and over again, that does not make it true. What it makes Democrats, Republicans, and every American who allows this stuff to be said without vehement opposition is a misunderstanding of the English language. Because I don't need to open up a dictionary to understand the word vermin, to understand Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about executions of Democrats in the last Trump administration. I don't need a dictionary to understand when people say that we need to inject the homeless with lethal injections. I don't need a translator to understand hate. Because unlike MAGA America, every single person in my family and my ancestors have endured it. So this is where I'm at with this. So my father had a saying: if you have to ask the price of something, then you can't afford it. And where I'm at with my understanding of the United States of America is everyone in Congress right now who is not screaming at the top of their lungs of every party cannot afford to live in the United States of America. And once again, they are willing to finance a free ride on the backs of people they think are inferior and stupid. And that includes the Democratic Party. Now, I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave and yell about this both sides shit, because as long as we keep going on and on about that, we cannot move forward. We need to take responsibility, each and every one of us, as to how we got here, and look forward as to how we get out. That is the bottom line. There is no other way. Now, this is your Dutch aunt speaking. Okay? These people that still keep making excuses for all of the ugliness and not fact-checking MSNBC and CNN. And I had to turn both of them off today. So I'm going to suggest both of them, except for a couple of shows. I'm going to say The Weekend on MSNBC and The Weekday on MSNBC. That is it. Everyone, including Anderson Cooper, all of them, are letting these Republicans get on there and babble on and spew bullshit and spew lies. That is not news. So they're committing the same atrocities against an oppressed people, which is right now anyone who is not MAGA, that Fox News is doing. And they need to be held accountable by everybody turning their TVs off. Which leads me to the general strike. Now, the concept of the general strike, and it is starting slowly, is that we start to turn off the things that are negatively affecting us, therefore defunding our oppression. Now, I have a preliminary list of these items that we need to start turning off, no matter how tempting. CBS, ABC, also known as Sinclair Broadcasting, Disney, which many have already. That includes cruises and the theme parks. Cracker Barrel, which is already suffering a great loss. The Washington Post, headed by Jeff Bezos. Some of you probably didn't even know that. Most of my neighborhood unsubscribed recently. All Trump properties worldwide and anything that you can find associated with Donald Trump, do not buy it. Do not buy anything from countries that have given any gifts, or any organizations, if you can help it, that have given any gifts to him. Especially Apple Computer or any Apple products, including Apple TV. So there you have it. That's the first round. The general strike is underway already. It has been since the first black people, and I have to give a shout out to black folks for boycotting Target, because that shit worked. And when Al Sharpton went into Costco and led that march up in New York, it sent a message. Now, people can say my dollars don't count, or this dollar doesn't count, or shutting off something doesn't count. But people worldwide have shut down Disney, and now they are in a panic. So never say that it doesn't work, because it does. And that movement against Target started right here on the East Coast. So let's get that straight. You know, give credit where credit's due. The ideas might not have come from you, and they might not have developed the way you wanted them to. But if the message gets out and it gets executed, that's all that matters at this point. We work hard for our money, and we shouldn't be giving it up for nothing. Which brings me to my second point. Shut it down. Now, I've heard Democrats speak about a national shutdown. For those of us living in reality that's not making a salary like you are, or have duped us many times, some of you, like Nancy Pelosi, into re-election and not doing anything, like Hakeem Jeffries. If you are doing anything less right now as a Democrat than people like Greg Cesar, Mr. Garcia, Jasmine Crockett, to name a few. Tim Walz, Governor Shapiro. You need to reconsider your job title. We have to worry about Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, how we're going to feed our kids. And in some instances, some of us are taking part of our meager income and taking care of other people's children by feeding them. There are people who sleep 2 and 3 hours a night because they're out patrolling their neighborhoods so that they can warn their neighbors about ICE. And what do? Nothing. We pay your salary. And as you can see, in 2 or 3 nights, Disney might be on its way to going out of business worldwide. This movement is not just in the United States. The general strike is just not in the United States. Canada, Africa, the Netherlands, Spain, the UK. People are participating to save our democracy. So what I have to say to members of Democratic Congress and the Senate, or I'm sorry, House of Representatives and the Senate, we pay your salary. And you can be cut off from it as quickly as Disney was cut off. We pay for Disney. Our dollars pay for Amazon. Our dollars pay for the Washington Post. Our dollars pay for CVS. We eat at McDonald's. We shop at Target. We shop at Walmart. And we buy gas. Without us, you don't exist. Now, you thought you pulled something over on us, but you fucked around and found out. And what Congress is going to do, and this applies to anyone that is thinking about between now and the end of September opposing a government shutdown in the House of Representatives or the Senate, you can be shut down too. We are not going to fund a government that we get nothing from. It is not up to members of Congress to go to MAGA with their demands. It's up to members of Congress to ask us for ours. You don't have many days left, but that's what needs to happen. I am one of millions. There are 340 million people in the United States of America. 1/3 of them of voting age voted for MAGA. The rest of them, of that third, live in MAGA households raised by MAGA people. The other 75% are like me. That's what you have to contend with. The numbers don't add up. So if you think you can sit up in there and you get APAC money and you can do insider trading and be comfortable in your position, that's not going to happen anymore. We're holding you to account too. This is not a both sides thing. This is not a Democratic thing. This is not a Republican thing. This is a my country thing. And I'm an American thing. And I'm going to make damn sure that not another dollar of my money goes to anyone that acts opposite of my interests. And that's what you need to do too. There is power in numbers. And we've got the power, not them. You better know it, and you better know it now. The last thing I want to say to all of those of you who are still intimidated by this cavalcade of idiots. Trump and the MAGA cult has spewed accusations of hate speech since 2015. Not the other way around. So if you still need a translator to understand that was said over and over and over again as a battle cry and a mantra, then you can't afford to be an American because you're not willing to pay the price to reverse that. Fact and proof-free bigotry is called propaganda. So if you're still on MSNBC and CNN and trying to do this both sides and, well, we need to understand this. You don't need to understand a motherfucking thing except English. I got straight A's in the language. Try it. It works. And these idiots you give agency over you have a limited vocabulary, and you have bought into that. And that is your problem. That is your answer to defeating fascism right there. You got to be smarter than the idiot sitting next to you. And let me say something about something that's in my craw. You have people who are podcasters running the FBI and the Department of Defense. So how's that working out? But yet you sit up in Congress and you want to compromise with a cavalcade of idiots. People whose faces don't even resemble human beings. Look at Kash Patel. Look at Laura Loomer. Look at Donald Trump. Look at Kristi Noem. That is some fucked up shit. Okay, I'm not a Christian, but people who see shit call that evil. And that's what evil looks like. You want to know what a rapist looks like? You want to know what a crook looks like? You want to know what a killer looks like? That's what you're looking at. Because that's what they're doing. Sending people to concentration camps and killing them. That's what murderers look like. Get it in here. Because it's not computing with you. And Kristi Noem is green-lighting genocide. Why she's let in the White House, I don't know. That's the people's house, last I checked. There's still a constitution, so you still have time if you can let this sink in. What she needs to do, instead of advising anybody on anything, is to shut the fuck up and return to teaching satanic cosmetology classes in the Netherlands where she comes from. She is disgusting. She is ugly. She does not look human, and something is wrong with her. And the sooner you all understand that every single person they parade in front of you is a fucked up individual, the better off you'll be. We did not elect people to do this. We did not elect people to lose our country to this. Veterans did not go to war and die for this. But if you keep up this shit, you are going to. And you can mark my word on that. But one thing I will say is there is hope. Within the next week or so, I believe the tide is going to turn. And this is based on information I have. I'm not here to convince you to go do something. I'm not here to convince you to believe me. I'm here to let you know that if you're one of these people fucking off doing nothing, or you can't do without your so-and-so and cut it off, for every one of you, there's 1,000 people like me. And for every person that does a podcast on YouTube that's speaking the truth, I want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And everyone else should do the same. Because courage is a superpower. And you have that. And you should keep on doing it. And just like you, as long as I can, I'm going to keep on doing it too. This is the John Brown Alliance. When you see something wrong, do something right.